morning, folks. Welcome to the Pest Geek podcast live from the road. Let me make sure I got my map set up right. Okay. There you go. So I've got about 50 minutes before I get to my territory. It's overcast, rainy. We got a 70% chance of rain today. We got to see what we can get done. Because if I cancel 15 stops for 2 routes, we're going to be behind 30 stops. So what we do is we go out on the road. Yeah, it could be continuous rain. It could be raining in that territory. When I get there, it could not be. It's 30 miles away. It's rush hour traffic in the morning. It's 8 a.m. I'm so glad I got that extra hour of sleep. That I'm getting now in the winter. And I don't sleep more than 6 hours anyway. Rarely do I sleep 8. I'm about 7 hours. Sometimes less if I get insomnia. I'll sleep 3 to 4 hours and then I'm cranky all weekend. So what I wanted to go over. I see this all the time. I don't comment anymore in any of the groups. I don't waste my time commenting. Too many experts. So what I do is, if I see something worthwhile that I can help someone where it really makes a difference, then I usually just reach out to them privately and say, hey, look, I saw your post. Let me know if you need to talk. Call me. Here's my direct number. And I probably do that maybe once a week with a lot of people. I got these long commutes where, once or twice a week, I might as well use my time wisely. And I can't help but try to help people. So I'm using my time wisely. I'm not going to make calls from the road. Too hard to do. I've got an admin. She needs me. She lets me know. Rarely do I need to, this early in the morning, talk to anybody at 8 o'clock about anything. So I'll take the time and say, hey, I know I'm going to be on the road for an hour, hour and a half. I can devote that time to you. Because if you try to make an appointment with me to say, hey, when is a good time to talk to you? I said, sometime between here and 2027 would probably be impossible. But if I know I'm going to be on the road 3 days a week, that I am now, I'm on the road with this route 3 days a week, and then the other 2 days a week, I'm doing sales and inspections and, on termites and things like that I have to do. But I got to run this route 3 days a week. My other tech can't do it. They're very, if I send him over there, he'll have to leave at 6 in the morning, and he won't get back to his family till 7, 8 o'clock at night. Not something I do to employees. I don't expect employees to be operators. I don't expect them. Put this cable here under this. Give me a second. I don't expect my techs to work the hours I work. I don't expect them to have the burdens I have. I don't expect my employees to be nothing but employees. If you put in your 8 hours, you grinded it out, you did your best job, and you got the work out, I'm happy. I don't expect you to do more. So this is one I take because this is a business, an area that I'm trying to develop. And what I do is, while I'm on those property, I inspect a lot of things, and I keep making proposals when I get back to people about additional services they want to add on. My tech doesn't have that time when he's pushing, anywhere between 10 to 15 stops a day. He doesn't have time when it's raining. Like right now, today it's raining. It's a rainy day. In the summer, it's pouring. He'll have to sit in his truck for an hour. Is there something he can do while he's sitting in his truck for an hour? Yeah, he can pray it stops raining. But he can't go out and start handing out door hangers. It's pouring. He can't really do much. Like we had a 5-week month, and the end of month we got everything done because everything we have programmed is programmed for 4 weeks, right? So everything was done except for some leftovers, some major accounts that take hours to do. I will leave them kind of for that, and then training, and then bringing in the vehicle for maintenance, because we don't get a chance. So we took it out, we took all the equipment out, we cleaned the inside of that truck. We work on, hey, let's get this more efficient. Fixing things that might need, that are not urgent but they need to be fixed. So we take a day to do a lot of that. I send them out and say, hey, like we had one of those days last week where it was raining, couldn't do much. I said, look, there's 300 miles left on this, that one's 800 miles over, this vehicle is this. Why don't you spend the day getting oil changes and tire rotations? So you go pick up one vehicle, go take it, and that's what he does on a day that it's either going to be raining, because we can do tire rotations and oil changes if it's going to rain all day, and we know it's raining all day. It was the day before the hurricane that we got through here. So a lot of things we can and can't do yet, that I'm still basically an operator that has an admin, one tech, myself. I just went on Indeed now. I did the paid Indeed. I'm doing Easy Hire for the interviews. What I do is I go to Indeed, I place the ad. I'm going to have 100 applicants. That there's no way I'm going through 100 applications after I'm down all this. I basically scan them and say, yep, basically, because I'll ask some pointed questions that I need answers to. And if you refuse to answer the question, either you don't have the experience that I need, that I'm looking for, in the soft skills that I'm looking for, or the things that I'm looking for this position. And then basically it's a no. I don't even have to think about it. Or you just refuse to answer it because you don't feel like answering the question because you have no attention to detail. Well, you automatically disqualified yourself at that point. So then I take the one maybe that's good, and then I say, okay, look, go online, and here's our website, and fill out an application on that one. So then I look at the application and said, okay, he's definitely something I'm looking for, or it's a no. Because I'm not going to read resumes. I can just ask a couple of questions. I streamline that process. Then I say, okay, here's an interview. And by the way, I send them a link once they have the application, and I say, here's a link to our playlist of private videos. This is what all those services we do. Can you see yourself doing this day in and day out? Because I have 700 videos on YouTube. I have a lot of material that I can make a 5-minute, 10-minute video and say, look at these videos. Can you see yourself crawling under there? Can you see yourself in a crawl space, in an attic? Can you see yourself with a floor full of roaches and you pulling a refrigerator? Can you see yourself inside a cabinet full of roaches? Can you see yourself handling dead rodents? A lot of people think what they're going to do is walk around with a B&G all day and spray baseball. That's their idea of what they think pest control is like. Can you see yourself pulling a hose through 35,000 square foot property when it's 104 degrees? But aren't you going to discourage them? I said, I'd rather discourage them now than figure out they can't do crap while I wasted all this time interviewing them, drug testing, background checks, a day of trial. I only care about qualified candidates. I don't care about the unqualified candidates. So then I'll send them an interview video with 10 to 20 questions, depending on the position. And depending on how I see them, I get to see them now if they interviewed in a tank top. If you don't care enough to at least wear a decent shirt for an interview, a polo shirt or look decent, and you're sitting in bed while you're eating chips and interviewing, you're going to be a no. Because how are you going to look? You're going to look like a slob in front of the client. So I pick up a lot of things on these videos where I ask these 10 questions. and I streamline that process again. Then later, if I want, might take Criteria Corp and then start giving assessments. In other words, I got 3 months to hire the perfect candidate. I don't need a warm body. There's no deal I got to have. And I'll continue to run this route until I find the right person. I don't care. Because what I've learned from hiring 25 people previously to that is that every time I violate a process and I don't have this process to hire, I end up with crap. And then I'm hiring 5, 6, and then this is where most people who want to grow, who've never hired their first employee, think that they're going to put a job on Indeed. They're going to see a qualified applicant, look at their resume, bring them in for an interview. That guy's going to show up, or that gal is going to show up. They're going to put him on a route, do a test run, and they're going to be hired, and that's the end of it. You might as well go into the doctor. What it's really like is going into the doctor and getting a vasectomy and a colonoscopy on the same day. And then you have to do that again tomorrow, and do it again the day after, and do it again for a week, and do it for 3 months. That's what it feels like to hire. Okay? As a man. I don't know what it feels like. I can't say it's like giving birth. I'll get crucified. You have no idea what it's like to give birth. I heard that from my mother. Okay? I don't. But I know what a colonoscopy feels like. And it ain't pleasant. You know, I know what hernia repair feels like. It wasn't good. I know what having a sciatic nerve pinch for 2 weeks while you have to run a route feels like. It's like a constant pain that's never going to go away, and you got to learn to live with it, and you make it easier, but it never gets easier. So that's kind of what hiring is like. And then I'll have to go through I'll have to go through about 1,000 applicants here in Miami. Understand, I'm in a market with 3 million people. Between Dade and Broward, I got 5 million people. Okay. I was just talking to a gentleman, which his market where his area he's in is 1,700 people in that town. I got 1,700 people living within a mile of me in one development that I live in, which actually has 1,500 homes. That's 3,000 people in one event in my gated community. Okay, so you see what happens somewhere in the middle of nowhere is not the same as what happens in a major city. So I reached out to him. You know, he's having issues growing. He reached a certain number after 6 years or 4 years of being in business. Him and his wife are running the business. They can't find any help, a VA. They can't find an assistant. But when I sat down in a basic conversation, my conclusion was, but you don't have enough money. Where you live, how expensive it is to live there, you don't have enough money to hire anybody. You need to bring in about another $150,000 a year between you and your wife. And he's in the Northeast, so there's rain now. There's already in the 30s. He's got winter off. I said, you need to really sit down. I asked him about his numbers. Doesn't know any of his numbers really off the top of his head. And this is what I find when I talk to people, that they want to go from being a solo operator to them and their wife to now being a CEO. And what they want to do is hire somebody that they can abdicate to. And they don't know how to be a manager. And what you got to be good at is being a good business manager first, before you can start talking language like I'm a CEO. You're not a CEO. Even CEOs have to show up to work every day. If you're an owner, investor that has everybody doing everything, you must have a crap load of experience where you graduated from Harvard with your MBA and you went to go work for one of the top, to McKinsey, and was a consultant for 11 years at McKinsey. And then you decided to go into business and buy a series of restaurant chains and become an investment group because you have that kind of experience. That's different from a technician or a person that used to work in another industry where they had no management, no sales, no marketing experience, jumping into a truck, and now 2 years later they've grown and they don't know where to go from here. And the idea of hiring a consultant is nonsense, but yet nobody in the world like me, I can sit there, I can listen to your story, I can deduce very quickly where you're at, and I can tell you what to fix very quickly. But for me to sit there and say, when can I call you back and have a conversation with you, unless we sit and have some concrete things that you're going to work on, some concrete things you're going to work on, I'm wasting my time because I don't know. Unless you're going to get naked and say, like I told unless you're going to get naked and disclose your real, your operations, your numbers, your routing, go through what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis, which for most people is too grueling of a process to go through, nobody in the world's really going to help you. Because you have to build that relationship where you feel that comfortable getting naked in front of somebody. Because what happens is people ask very vain, cloaked questions like, how do I hire an employee? Well, let me ask you this. How much revenue do you have to hire? Well, when you are at $24 an hour gross pay to hire a technician in your market, and you're only doing $200K a year, that's $50,000 a year, and you're needing 100, that's $150,000, and you're doing, how are you going to operate a business with $50,000 a year, marketing and everything that needs to be added? There's not enough numbers there. You can't have a 35% route cost on payroll and then grow too. Now you may need to do it because you might get injured and you have no choice. Right? That happens to a lot of people. They get injured now, but can you live? Can you and your family live and pay your technician the same amount that you're paying yourself? You can't, not in this economy. Not unless you live in a motorhome trailer that you park on the side of the road and it's a $10,000 pop-up camper that you live in. It's not going to happen. This economy is very, very tough when we've had 30% inflation over 3-4 years here in South Florida. Okay? Turn down this AC because it's getting really cold in here. And you're wanting to grow. And I said, look, payroll can't go above 50% gross, total. That includes what you pay you, what you pay your wife. In other words, what you bring home to your family, and what you pay your technicians, and when you pay all your employees, when you're under $1 million, is going to be really high. You're not going to have a lot of leftover money for marketing for growth. You're going to have to do a lot of organic growth still, where you're attending a lot of meetings for the average person, and now you got to become a manager. I asked them, you hired an admin charging you $24 an hour when your wife is working with you, when you're making $200K a year, and you have no clue what she's doing. I said, you don't know your numbers. You don't have KPIs in place. You don't know what this admin is doing for you. Your wife and you are still working, and she hasn't alleviated any of your pain. I say, fire her. Spend the next 3 months. My advice is, you got winter. You're in the Northeast. You're not going to do anything. You already made your money for the year. Spend the next 3 months going to conferences, hiring a good consultant that you're going to be honest with, transparent with, and you're going to really show them, because what's going to happen is when I start looking at your operation as a consultant, and a consultant and a mentor are two different things. People want a mentor. I want somebody to inspire me and tell me where I need to go and show me the way and be a guru, and your operation's a mess. See, unless you're going to fix your operational deficiencies, like I don't know where your efficiency's at. Until I look at the operation, I have no idea where the deficiencies are, where the inefficiencies are. Could this be run a different way to allow you 20% more time so that you can do 20% more business or 20% more sales? Can you do that? I don't know. Too many unknown questions that I can't answer in a 1-hour consultation. all I can do is ask the pointed, basic questions. If you can tell me your numbers, I can tell you if you're in range or whether you're in bad shape. Most of the time when I look at the numbers, they're in bad shape because they're working 60 hours a week in the field to produce 200,000 a year. Wife is helping, and wife is also helping in the field during the busy months. You have some serious inefficiencies somewhere. That's way too many people already. Until you get with you and your wife, any business, most businesses should be able to operate somewhere around that 300, 350 range before they really need to hire somebody, or at least hire some part-time help 1 day a week, 2 days a week, a college kid. You can hire a college kid to be a helper for $18 an hour. You don't need what people want is a guy to jump in a truck or a girl to jump in a truck, run the operation, but they don't have, $24 an hour is $1,000. That's $50,000, $49,000 something a year. That's $50,000 a year. That you really need $250,000 a year, or the minimum is $150,000 for that route to break even. At $150,000 a year, you're still bleeding per route. You can't make any money on that. You have to be somewhere for $150,000 where the economy is so depressed that people are willing to work for $14 and $13 an hour, and both of them work, and they live really in really low, a low income apartment or something with this economy. So when you're looking at payroll, can't be above 20%, and it shouldn't be, of what that route makes. Your fleet cost should not rise over 10%. Your total cost for chemical equipment, rodent station, glue boards, everything that you're buying shouldn't go over that 13% mark. Those are like some basic industry. In other words, a route, ideally, the best route on an average should be around 55% gross, right? That's labor. That's fleet expenses. That includes, and labor, by the way, includes workman's comp if you need it. It includes the workman's comp insurance added to that. It includes taxes that you have to pay on that employee. This is why most of the companies are paying around 18, and then they'll go to 22 with all the taxes, 23% with all the taxes, with a max of 24 with workman's comp and all this. So you calculate the payroll, only the labor, but what about all the taxes you got to throw on top of that? Taxes here and taxes in New York or New Jersey or Maine or wherever or Nevada are different. Some cities, when I lived in Columbus, it was 2 taxes I paid on the city. I had to pay in the city I worked in, and I paid payroll tax in the city I lived in and worked in. Double taxed on my labor. You got to pay that, and the employee pays 50% of that, of those taxes. So you really need a good accountant to tell you, or a payroll company to say, run the numbers on a 50% payroll in my city and tell me what my taxes are going to be. Then what is it going to cost to get workman's comp? Can you even get somebody to write a policy for you for under 5% of workman's comp of payroll? So it's 5% of payroll, not 5% of route costs. It's 5% of labor. So now you're up to 23, 24, 25% on that route. If you're only making a 45% gross margin on a route, that could be temporary. That's not bad. If you just stuck a guy on there, says, I'm going to break it up. I'm going to take a route 2 days a week, 3 days a week, like I'm doing now. And 2 days a week, I'm doing selling and inspections and this and that to sell more business. And my admin is in the office. My admin is making sales, taking every call, taking every complaint call, creating tasks for me on anything that she can't handle in the system. So when I get back, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 tasks to do. She's quoting out our basic services. On the things like termites she can't quote, lawns she can't quote, certain things she can't quote, she creates a task for me, lets them know, hey, Frank at the end of the day is going to get back with you, or tomorrow. And then I get involved in that sale, right? So when my admin is producing for me, is I don't have to answer that phone. Nobody gets to me unless they give her a compelling reason. She's my gatekeeper. No, but I dealt with Frank last year, and I really want to talk to him because I need to give me a discount because that price you're quoting me is ridiculous. And the answer is, I'm sorry, Frank has given me these prices. These are the prices. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, those prices are no longer available. Plain and simple. Nobody gets to me on those terms unless it goes through her. All the basic services she can quote. There's no need. She gets on the phone, she listens to them, she talks to them, she says, sign it. She sends the contract to them. They got to authorize it. Their card has to be on file. She checks when the contract comes in that it's on file, that everything's ready to go. Then she puts a task for it. She says, hey, that contract's been approved. Everything is good. You give them a call to schedule. And I do the scheduling because there's no way she can schedule around this chaos. Too many moving parts. What you want is an admin that knows how to schedule, knows the routes, knows the territories, knows what every service is, and how the heck is she going to do that? That is something that your wife can be doing while somebody's doing something else, if that's the case. Can I train her to sell? So I have to sit there and I got to train to sell. Without you getting involved with that admin, so we have a Zoom meeting once a week. I'm on the route and I actually have a WhatsApp call, video call with her. And I said, all right, tell me what you've been feeling this week, what's been going on. And then I do coaching and I do training and I do that. And I said, okay, next time you do this. Or I simply see a problem that she did, somewhere she made a mistake. I get on it, and usually I'll eat those problems. And I'll get on there and I'll say, look, in the future, this is how you solve that problem. And I'll do a Loom video with a screen share of a Loom video, and I go through the whole process and I show her, and then I send her that video, a link to it, and that video's there. She can always refer back to it. But you can't abdicate to somebody and say, I don't know what somebody's doing. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, you're a bad manager, because you should know what all your people are doing. Even on the road, you can kind of guess what they're doing. You see? And dang, I ran out of coffee. I need another coffee. I still got another 26 minutes. It's bumper to bumper. I'm going 18 miles an hour. Welcome to Miami. So now, you got to go through that. Know where your KPIs are. You got to know where you got to know the percentage of business that you're doing, the mix of business. Is it general pest 30%, 40%? Like right now, general pest for me is 50% of our business. Lawn and ornamental is about 50%. It fluctuates month to month, but we're about 46, 54. Lawn still. My goal is to push GHP higher, right? So I sell more of those. And then mosquito is of that GHP, because it's in that number, mosquito is less than 10%. We don't really focus on it. Rodent control, less than 1%. Insignificant flea and tick, less than 1%. It's general, basic. I go in, we sweep, we do a clean out, we sweep, we put you on a program, exterior only, maintenance service. We show up monthly or every 2 months, depending on the home. We're making around 580 to 790 a year on homes. Weighed average, we're weighing in about 1,200 weighed per customer per year, because that includes lawn care mixed into the mix, and I know my numbers. So if I sat down with you, if you were a manager of a store, I want you to put yourself in this position. You're a manager of a store. I hired you to be a manager. It's worse because you're an owner. So that really sucks that you don't know your numbers, right? Then I said to you, Frank, what's on your P&L? I'm not gonna sit there and read your P&L. I might read your P&L, and then I'm gonna say, Frank, Why did payroll go over 14% for the company in the last 30 days? You better have an answer for that as a manager. Because if you can't tell me why I'm going, when payroll is 14% for the store and you're at 16%, what's the reason that payroll went over? You went over budget by 2% on payroll. That's how a manager operates. You need to explain to me why 2% over on payroll, because everything that gets over a budget comes off the bottom line. And as an owner, I get paid from the bottom line. I get paid from profit. So when you take that 2%, 3%, I now don't have that 24% if I'm growing. I don't have that 24, 25% to put into marketing because it has to come from somewhere. And now I got to reduce the marketing because you screwed up. I need an answer from you. And that's kind of like the way you got to treat yourself. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why is this happening? Why is our numbers? Why did our phone service go up? Why did this go up? Is it because the contract was renewed and we got a new contract, it's at a higher price? Then how do we do budgeting now? How do we budget for the next year when we don't have projected costs and we don't know what our increases are going to be, and you're not staying ahead of those numbers? Why aren't you staying ahead of those numbers? Because you're in the field 60 hours a week. So can wife learn how to do the accounting? Can wife learn how to do the numbers? Because you suck with numbers, because you're a technician at heart and all you want to do is do the work. And you don't want to be involved. And to you, doing numbers is so depressing that you'd rather stick your eye at, a needle in your eye than to have to do accounting. Then you need to get somebody else to do it, but it needs to be done right. What does your balance sheet look like? What does your cash flow statement look like? Until I know that, those are like your blood test. I need to know as a doctor, where's your cholesterol? Where's your triglycerides? Where are all your minerals? Where's your hormones at? You got to do a whole bunch of invasive tests to really understand what the business is like. Where's your hemoglobin at? Where's your A1C at? Where's your blood sugar at? Now I can get a kind of a snapshot of where you're at. It doesn't tell me the whole story. Things can be within normal range and something can still be wrong somewhere else that we're not looking at. So we got to look at everything. We got to be holistic as a consultant. And unless you're willing to do that, you're wasting your time calling a consultant and ask, well, how do I grow my business? And how do I hire? And how do I do marketing? And how do I do this? And how do I do that? Well, I can tell you how, and you might not have the money to do it. You might not have the bandwidth to do it. You might not have the time to do it. Because if you're working 60 hours a week, you don't have enough money to hire, which is typically the case. You're working long hours. You don't have the money over here to hire. So you don't have the time and you don't have the money, buddy. You're stuck like Chuck. No consultant is going to help you get out of that unless the consultant can look in and said, okay, here's what I want you to do. And I'm going to have to get off in about 5 minutes. Let me give my tech just texted me that he's getting ready to go out. Give me a second. I don't think it'll be starting work much later than usual. I have to deal with an issue with the dealer. No worries. All right, so you got to cover the bills. No worries. Yeah, bro, don't worry about it. Do what you need to do, and you handle it. There you go. Got a problem with his car at the dealer. He's got a route with 10 clients on it today, and he's got to deal with that. And how do I deal with it? Well, he's smart enough to know that if he's taking off, he might have to work late. He handles it the best way he can. I mean, I'm not going to start micromanaging that issue. He already knows what he has to do. I don't have to worry about it. So, allow. Let me see. Hold on a second. My map. My map. Where's the map? Where's the map? Cancel. We still got to go for 3 more miles on the turnpike. All right. So, you know, so now you need to know where your numbers are, guys. So I'm going to recap this. Know where your numbers are. You need to figure out where your deficiencies are. I just went and spent another 8 hours last week, or actually 3 weeks ago, restructuring the territories again. Why? Because they get out of whack. Because I'll start getting more clients in one area, and if I don't look at it, I'm like, dang it, he's got 17 clients. There's no way he can handle that today. Let me realign this territory. Okay, so now it falls on me because it went into the area that I have to do. You see? So I spent realigning the territories about 8 hours. Actually, it was like 4 hours because I really got it down to a science. So about every month or 2 months, a quarter, because of the rate we're growing, I will realign the territories and make sure that things are balancing out. I will look at how many routes I have in that month. Okay? Yes, I got to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Okay? On a Sunday, and while everybody's sleeping, work on this. And I will probably have to work till noon. And then I wake up on Sunday mornings, and my son is up at 7 o'clock because he's like an early riser. He's up at 6:30. He goes to sleep 9:30 every day, and he's usually up by 6:30 every day. So I get up, I say, hey, Bobby, let's go to breakfast, me and him. Because I started doing that now. Sunday mornings, me and him go to breakfast by ourselves. He's 10 years old. I'm investing time in my kid, right? On Thursday nights, me and my daughter go on a date. On Friday nights, for 4 or 5 hours, me and my wife, we sit out and we talk about the week, the plans. We have a cigar, a couple of drinks. Every other weekend when I don't have the kid, we have a date night. In the meantime, everything that has to get done at home has to get done. She works 10 to 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And Friday she works from home and she does laundry. I hired a cleaning lady to come in every 2 weeks. And every 2 weeks she does the laundry. So she doesn't have to do it. I mean, think about it, folks. If you can't, you don't have enough help with the kids, which was one, we got a little baby in the mix. Not a lot of support. You don't have church support. You're not plugged into a group. You live rurally. It's tough. I get it. So you got to figure out where you could do something. Can you do all of the accounting and automate it through QuickBooks so you don't have to pay somebody because they might be $300 a month for good bookkeeping? I don't know anybody that can do good bookkeeping for $99 a month. It's BS. Unless they got everything connected, all your debit cards, credit cards, all the merchant accounts, and everything. Everything is, I gotta stay here, connected, and then all you gotta do is approve. Everything is there. Doesn't let me look ahead. My map is okay. We're on the turnpike again. So for some reason, I left the turnpike and got back on the turnpike, even though I'm still on the turnpike, and the turnpike is still here. All right, so we're on the turnpike. All right, so another. That's where it was. All right, so it wanted me to go on the I-75 north. Got it. And sometimes this map makes no sense. And you got that automated, and now you know where all your expenses are. You now know where everything is. I don't know if you had to borrow $20,000 on credit cards to live over the summer, over the winter, and then you pay it off over the year. I don't know if you've got a credit line. I don't know any of these things. So as a consultant, again, you got to be able to say, here's my numbers, Frank. I know the numbers are good. They're solid. I checked them. And here's my routing. Here's what I do every morning to walk me through what your wife does and what she does. And a lot of the time, people don't want to talk about their personal life. And as a mentor, and a mentor is different than a consultant or a trainer, because a mentor assumes that you've got your stuff together. A mentor assumes that you know what it is you're doing. A mentor says, okay, let's think about outside of the box ideas, directions where you may go in the next 5 years. And then now a consultant says, okay, this is your goal for the next 5 years. Here's what you're going to have to do to break down the granular and the tasks that have to be done in the next 5 years to get you where you want to go. You might have to hire a trainer, because a consultant can tell you, hey, this is what you need to do. But now a trainer needs to take you by the hand on a day-to-day basis, a week-to-week basis, and say, okay, now what are you doing? Okay, no, you're doing that wrong. You're doing that, flex wrong. This is how you actually do it. Let me look. And I mean, I've taken golf lessons where I went in front of the camera and the coach would look, see your swing, see how you pull your elbow out, hear how your knee's not right. You got to be willing to go through that. And what most people's problem is, they don't want to go through any of that. What they want is free advice on things that they don't know how to implement, how to execute on, and thinking that just because somebody gave you the advice, like, well, you know what, you should be doing wildlife in the winter, because we do wildlife in the winter. Okay, well, all right, so now you do, okay, now I got to learn how to do wildlife. How do I learn how to do wildlife? How do I sell wildlife? That's a 1 to 2 year proposition. Anybody who's gone through that, wildlife becomes a significant part of winter business in a lot of areas. So, but I don't want to do wildlife. I'm 50 years old. I don't want to get up on ladders. Well, nobody can help you, because that's your solution. Or you make enough money 7 months out of the year, or 3 to 4 months out of the year, you're out and you're traveling and you're going to conferences and you're sharpening your sword. Because that's what I'd be doing. I was telling them, I would be going to a Paul Bello conference. Why? Because you're going to be surrounded by people who have grown to where you want to grow. And now you can pick their brain. Why? Because you're in an area that you're no competition. They will tell you the truth. They will tell you what you have to do. They will give you ideas. You can go to dinner with these people. That's where I would be investing my winter. Right? If you're going to hire a consultant like Pete Chopin, who's actually built a multi-million-dollar business and had a successful exit, I would be paying somebody over the winter while I'm down. And I would be sharpening my sword and figuring out everything I'm doing wrong. The problem is, is your ego, here's what I'm going to be talking about. Is your ego good enough and healthy enough that somebody honestly look at you and say, here's where you're screwing up, and you not be offended, you not take it personally, you be humble enough to say, yeah, I get it, I'm screwing up in this area, I know that I got to change this. Now, here's the hard question. How much work has to be done before you actually start making the changes you need to make? Because acknowledging that you got a problem is the first step. How much work does a trainer, do you now have to, is the problem that you're having a physical problem where you need physical healing? Is the problem that you're having an emotional one? Is the problem that you're having a mindset problem? Is the problem that you're having some trauma from your childhood that hasn't been dealt with, that doesn't allow you to get to that next level? How much training is it an issue at home where you're working with your spouse, but your spouse can't handle anymore because your spouse, let's say, and I see it a lot, because you might be dealing with undiagnosed postpartum depression. You see all the problems that you're not dealing with, that you're not asking all the questions because you don't have the experience, because you haven't been there. Is wife can only handle so much because I have a special needs child at home. You see, and so we know this, that's why you need a compassionate person that is a human being. I got to get off on Sheridan, heading east. That understands this versus a person that is just an analyst who just looks at your numbers and says, "Here's what you're doing wrong, fix it." Not be able to lead you, in a spiritual way when your problem is spiritual. And are you open to that? Are you open to go then get counseling? Are you open to get therapy? Are you open to start physical therapy? Are you open to, can you afford it? Because that's another thing. If you're starving and you're overweight and you're eating wrong and your cholesterol is 325 and your triglycerides are 200 and your blood sugar is bad every morning, you're wanting to grow a business that's going to create more cortisol, and a business that's going to require you to be in your best mental, physical, and health to be able to take it to the next level. Are you willing to deal with all these things in order to go to that next level? See, you got to have a healthy mind and a healthy soul and a healthy spirit and a healthy body and healthy relationships in order for you to be able to function. And if you don't have the support at home, and you have to buy that support because you can't get it at home for X reason. It's not to point a finger. It's not to say, well, your wife needs to get her act together. No, chances are, guess what? My former boss, okay, where when I started in this industry, had a wife that had depression and had it for 20 years, and now she's reduced to being on a couch all day long. He's in his 70s. He's still doing pest control, running his little business, and he's doing baseboard spraying in apartment buildings, and he does 1 to 2 apartments a day because that's all he can physically do. He's overweight, and on top of that, now he got throat cancer. Those are the issues that we're dealing with, and a lot of the issues have nothing to do with tactics that are easily implementable by anyone. It's about strategy and looking at the strategy holistically of what's going to work for that person. And the way a consultant will train one person who has that MBA, who did run a business, and he's running $1 million business, and he wants to get to 4, is different than what a coach has to do with a person else at $200,000 a year with no sales management, marketing experience, that doesn't understand accounting, and he's got to start from elementary school, versus with another client, he may start out at high school, with another client he's at a bachelor's degree, with another client where he's at a graduate degree, where you're dealing with a guy with 20 years of experience and a graduate degree, and it's all these different degrees. And a coach has to know, and he's going to say, listen, honestly, bud, unless we can look at this, here's where we're at, and you get pushback on everything. As a good coach and a consultant, I got to look you in the eye and say, listen, bud, I think we're wasting our time here, and I'm taking your money, because honestly, I'm not going to be able to help you because you're not willing to do the things that I'm recommending. I think at this point I'm walking away, and good luck to you. You're on your own. Or you're not willing to pay because you think it's ridiculous, or you're wanting everything for free because that's your mentality that somehow people should be able to get on the phone with you once a week and just listen to you rant and not take any of your advice, waste your time, and do what they're going to do anyway because they don't want to do any of the things you're saying. I got this all the time where people just want someone to talk to, and I got to be a therapist. Okay, I heard you rant for an hour. Great. Now what are you going to do about it? I don't know. Well, it does no good to waste that kind of time. People like us who are growing businesses, who are putting in already 60, 70, 80 hours a week, who have an enormous amount of problems finding employees and getting to the next level, we don't have the time to sit there just so you can feel comfortable. I'm not your pastor. I'm not your priest. I'm not your counselor. If you want that, you can hire a counselor once a week, pay them $150 for the hour, go there. You're going to feel a lot better. Nothing's going to get resolved, but you'll feel a lot better for it. And maybe you'll start dealing with some of the emotional issues and some of the blockage that you have and some of the self-limiting beliefs. Michelle Coy, who is a coach, if you're having a lot of issues with self-limiting beliefs, you might have to do that first. Get a coach that helps you with your self-limiting belief before you can't get to the next level when you still have thinking down here. And the problem is people want to overcome the thinking with tactics and techniques and programs. And if you just buy this program and buy this book and you buy this, you're going to be successful when you have no ability to execute on it. So 99% of the people that go to a Tony Robbins conference do absolutely nothing with it. Tony Robbins sells books to people that's going to sit on the shelf and never do anything with it. So I got to weed out those people as a consultant and say, no, I'm only going to take on people. And, it's kind of like an athlete. Do I want to train this athlete? He stands no chance in hell of ever making it to the Olympics. He stands no chance in hell. Do I want to be that coach? Or do I want to be a little league coach for kids to get them started because I enjoy seeing little kids running around playing? And to me, it's rewarding, but I'm never going to make any money from this. It's just something I do in my spare time to coach Little League because I love to give something back. And the best way that I can give something back, and I've already given so much consulting on people that if they just take my advice from here and say, yeah, Frank, I get it. I got this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem I need to overcome. That's the direction I need to go. Then I spent an hour and a half that I could have been listening to a book. I could talk to my wife on her way to work, and she's got an hour and 45-minute commute. I could be doing something else with my time that helps me, but I choose to spend it here. You see? And so that's about the best advice I can give anybody, because I don't have the time to sit behind a desk and do a podcast like I used to do it. So I got to do it from here. I'm using my time wisely. I was having this conversation with my daughter yesterday. I listen to audiobooks. She says, yeah, you don't read, but you listen to audiobooks. And I have over 300 and something audiobooks. I said, but understand, why did it tell me to come in through here to only tell me that I got to go back the other way? But I'm going to be looking for an address. So I got to take my eyes off the road, off the phone, and look at my map and go the other way. But I can't make a U-turn here. So that's what you need to do, folks, is, you need to analyze all this. You need to look deep inside of you. You need to, here we go. All right, now it lets me go here. No, I got to go to the end of the other stop. Look at all these situations and be willing to say, can you spend $300, $400, $500, $600 a month for a good coach? What can you invest? How much time can you really invest? Because if I sit with you, but you don't have enough time, like a lot of people at first, dude, sorry, I gotta go through here. Thank you. Can you invest? And if you can't invest the time, what good is it for you? So the only thing I can do is sit down with you for an hour and say, okay, here's what is really going to be required of you over the next 3 months. Can you do this? Can you do this? What can you do? If I meet with you in 30 days and nothing's done, you can't just simply say, well, I want to know the next technique to become successful. I want to know the next thing to do this. I want to know the next thing. I said, you're wasting your time, bud. Because if you can't, if I tell you that you need to start out by walking 25 minutes a day for the next 30 days, and then when we talk in the next 30 days, then and I talk to you in 30 days, did you start walking? No, but I really feel I need a gym membership, and I really feel I need to buy all this equipment, and I really feel I need to do all this. And I said, your feelings are going to lead you astray, because this has nothing to do with feelings. This has to do with you implementing and executing, and you won't execute. You won't start walking. Eric, my friend, same thing for 2 years. Bro, just start walking. Bro, just start walking. Bro, but I feel I need to go to the gym. You don't have time to go to the gym. By the time you finish work, it's 10 o'clock at night. You have no energy to go to a gym and pump weights. But I used to be able to do it. Yeah, you used to be able to do it when you were 35. You're 54 now. Get over it. It isn't going to happen. It only took me 2 years to get him to agree to start walking. That's what happens with most people. I want to run. I want to fly. I don't want to learn how to crawl, because to me, crawling is demeaning. Walking seems so simple. Go ahead and try to do it every day. It is so simple. Sales is simple. Get a golden hour and devote 2 hours in the morning to doing sales calls. And do what is known as or 2 hours in the afternoon. If you want to reach HOAs and spend 2 hours on the phone just making 100 calls, 50 calls. Easier said than done, because the psychology of that is what you have to overcome. Most people, what they have to do is overcome the psychological problem of getting it done. So when you tell me you're ready to grow, and then I start analyzing all of this, I said, bud, you're not ready to grow. You have so many problems you have to fix. I had a consultation almost a year ago. I followed up with him. Hey, how are you? And the things that we discussed. I don't waste a whole lot of time with people. I just dropped him a message saying, hey, how are you doing on this? Yeah, bro, I got a lot of the stuff you've done is starting to happen, because a lot of the fixes you got to make to your business might take a year. But I want to grow and I want to scale. And look what Christian Allen is doing. I get that all the time. Look what Christian Allen is doing. And look what this guy's doing. And look what that guy's doing. How come he's growing? And I want to grow like that. And it says, well, finally, why don't you just pick up the phone and say, Christian, what is it that you're doing? You know what happens after the 37th call? Christian's going to say, bro, I don't have time for this. So why do I do a podcast? Because you got to spend the next year fixing the problems, because you got to do it a little bit at a time, because you're putting in 60 hours. You got to start fixing things that are wrong before you can go to the next level. The next level includes cleaning up, kind of like you go to your accountant and your balance sheet's a mess. All right, what does it take to fix my balance sheet? I need this, and this to fix your balance sheet. It's a mess. Your cash flow statement makes no sense. What do I got to do? You got to fix this, and this. All right, my route is a mess. How do I optimize? You're going to need to spend the next 24 to 48 hours investing. And I only have 2 hours a week. So how long is that going to take? 3 months. 3 months? You got to be kidding, man. I want to do it now, because you know why? Because we have an instant down. We went from the microwave society to the instant download society, thinking everything can be fixed with an app. Everything cannot be fixed with an app. Everything cannot be fixed instantly. Everything cannot be done to delegate, advocate. Well, how much if I hired you to do it? I said, Bud, you couldn't afford me. People ask that, well, how much if I hired you to do it for me? I said, there's no way that I will do that for you because that's an estimated 15 to 20 hours. And in order for it to be worth my time, I got to charge $259 an hour. So it's going to cost $3,000 to $4,000 to fix your problem. What do? You bite the bullet, eat that frog, get your wife to start fixing it. You start fixing it. Start doing all the things. This map is a mess today here in Broward. Sometimes I wonder what the hell they're doing. I'm actually following you, and it's telling me I'm wrong. Dear God. I don't know if it's the internet or what that's being late, and I'm missing a stop, but I'm going to be here in 30 seconds at my stop. That's what you need to do, folks. You need to look into where the problems are. Don't try, because here's what happens. I'm going to tell you classic ADD, ADHD mentality is I don't want to tackle what's difficult because I need a dopamine fix. Okay, the next one. I need a dopamine fix, and I only like to do what makes me feel good, and this doesn't make me feel good. And therefore, since there's no instant reward for doing this, I'm going to go ahead and just do what makes me feel good, and I'll take on these little projects and keep adding. What do you do is start adding services, right? And start it, because I want to do the next service, and I want to do the next cool thing, and I want to do, the next this, and I want to do a video on it, and I want to, and you're ignoring all the hard things where your foundation is a mess. You're going to try to build a house on top of a mess, and what it's going to do is you're going to find out that it's in a year or two, in a year or two, you're such a mess that now it's going to cost you 3x the time to fix it because you kept adding to the problem. I'm going to have to call this a day. It does not stop raining after I made it here. I can't spray while it's raining. I can't clean. I can't do rodent control. I'm going to look at my radar and see when it's going to pass. I might just go. I haven't had breakfast yet. I didn't have breakfast because I got that extra hour of sleep. But folks, I love you. I want the best for you. But look at that. I mean, if you got ADHD, you might need medication. You need cognitive therapy. You might want to do a couple of those things that make you feel good. Prep yourself up for that one thing and limit the amount of bad things you have to do to a certain amount of time. The problem also with ADHDers like me, and the reason I talk about ADHDers is because the percentage of people that are in business, over 30% of people that are in business are ADHDers. So this is part of the problem. We don't fit in certain organizations, certain models, and it's very hard. So we do our own thing so that we can have the freedom to do our own thing. But then we have to be highly disciplined, have protocols, procedures that we don't violate, in order to keep us functioning. And then we have to we have to be very structured. We can't jump from one thing to another, or else we won't get anything done. So that's what you have to do is you got to figure out, do I have ADHD? One of my texts, I had to, tell him, hey, bro, you're classic ADHD, bro. I said, bro, I've never labeled myself as that, and I didn't know. And I don't, and then he started doing research, and he says, yeah, you're right. I never knew that. This is why I've had such a hard time making it and succeeding. So it's not too late if you're 30, 40, 50 to get things fixed so that you can succeed. But you have to deal with the underlying root causes and not keep wishing for another easy program, another easy button, another guru to come along and tell you what you need to do to be successful, in the idea that if you just tell me the right things and it's okay with me and I can handle it, then I'll be successful. That'll never work. That's the major problem that I see with a lot of small business owners, and they're stubborn, they're hard-headed, they don't want to take advice, they don't want people prying into their business, They just want advice, but they don't understand what I'm trying to get to. It's kind of like saying you're self-diagnosing, you're self-medicating. You haven't gotten to the underlying root cause of why it is that you're not growing, you're not succeeding. And it's usually one of those five things. Is either emotional, it's either self-limiting beliefs, it's either psychological, it could be financial, it could be, something that's not right. It could be that you just don't understand the business of the business, and you need to take a couple of pest control business courses to understand it. Again, Paul Bello Conference. If you're struggling in sales, I have no problem. Pest Daily, to look at some of these issues. They're not going to diagnose the problem. Understand that these courses only teach you what you need to implement. But you're saying, I can't execute, I can't implement on 99% of this. Fine. Figure out the 1% that you can execute and implement on, and start doing that. And then start layering. But again, find out where the underlying root cause. You may need to hire a guy. But you may have to bring me in. Understand, again, my fee is going to be $259 an hour for me to sit there and start analyzing, and you probably need to budget around 10 hours for this to start looking at it week by week. And I'm probably going to have a limit as soon as I hire somebody. I could have a limit that I can do one client on a Saturday morning. Oh, Saturday morning I can't because I got this and I got that. And well, you're going to have to make the time. I mean, I can't. If I tried to schedule my time around everybody else, I would go insane. Like my clients, can you be here at 8 tomorrow? Yeah, everybody wants me to be there at 8 tomorrow. Sorry, it's between 2 and 4. It's between 4 and 6. Can it be at 5? No, it's between 4 and 6. We got a 2-hour window, and and when you get here, how long? Because I really need to leave really quickly. It's going to be about an hour that you need to budget. So I need to be home for 3 hours waiting for you? Yes. I can't help you. That's the reality. We can't try to please everyone. People who are people pleasers like me, I am a people pleaser. I had to learn to quickly learn how to say no. Now my MO is automatically no, until you justify to me why it is, and do I even have time for this? All right, so I caught a break in the weather. I'm going to go ahead and go around this house and do the perimeter treatment and check the rodent stations and do everything I have to do. We got granular that we can put, even if it's going to rain today, because the granular gets activated. And why? Here's the tip. Imidacloprid, we can do it in 5G. Why? Because we have an LLO license, and this house is 90% lawn around it. So we could do 90% treatment. And then the soffits where no water isn't going to hit it and it is not going to move, we can treat those areas with liquid because the label allows it with a liquid imidacloprid product, like the Minion 2L. That is our secret. When we get days like this, we have to be able to rotate and spin on a dime and be able to do it. So there's a tip for you. I hope this advice helps you guys. I hope it really helps a lot of people out there. Ask the right questions. Ask a lot of questions. And have a pistacular